The ink on the non-disclosure agreement was barely dry when the heavy oak doors of the Sterling and Company executive suite slammed shut behind me. I was left standing in a hallway that cost more than my entire education, clutching a leather folio to my chest like a shield. My name is Esther, and 10 minutes ago, I had been hired by the most terrifying woman in the city to catalog her private library. It was a job that paid 3 times my annual salary for 3 months of work. The only catch: I had to live in the Sterling estate, a sprawling, brutalist fortress of glass and steel overlooking the city skyline. "Keep your head down, Esther," the CEO had told me, her voice clipped and cold. "Do your work. Do not engage with the family. Especially not Divine. If she speaks to you, walk away." I had nodded, too grateful for the paycheck to ask questions. I assumed Divine was a petulant teenager or perhaps eccentric recluse. I was wrong. I was so incredibly wrong. The library was a 2-story cavern of mahogany and dust motes dancing in shafts of golden light. For the first week, it was my sanctuary. I lost myself in first editions and rare manuscripts, the silence of the house my only companion. I moved like a ghost, eating trays of food left outside the door, avoiding the family as instructed. It was on a Tuesday, during a violent thunderstorm that rattled the floor-to-ceiling windows, that the silence broke. I was on a ladder, stretching for a leather-bound volume of poetry on the top shelf, when the double doors burst open. It wasn't the wind. A woman strode in. She was drenched, her black trench coat dripping onto the Persian rug, her boots leaving muddy prints that would surely get someone fired. She had hair like a storm cloud, dark and wild, plastering to her neck. But it was her eyes that froze me on the ladder, amber, sharp, and currently burning with a mixture of rage and amusement. "So," she said, her voice a low, smoky rasp that seemed to vibrate through the wood of the ladder. "You're the new keeper of the tomb." "I'm the archivist," I managed, gripping the shelf. "Esther. Esther." She tasted the name, stripping it of its innocence. She walked to the base of the ladder, looking up. The perspective made me dizzy. "Get down, Esther." It wasn't a request. I climbed down slowly, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. When I reached the floor, I intended to walk away, just as the CEO had ordered. I clutched my book and took a step toward the side exit. "Where are you going?" "I have work to do in the cataloging room," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "Mother told you not to talk to me, didn't she?" The woman stepped into my path. She smelled of rain, ozone, and expensive scotch. "I'm Divine. And I'm bored." "I really need to work, Miss Sterling." "Divine," she corrected. She took a step closer. I took a step back. This dance continued until my back hit the cold, hard surface of a bookshelf. There was nowhere left to go. Divine didn't stop. She closed the distance, her presence overwhelming, sucking the air out of the room. She placed one hand on the shelf beside my head, effectively caging me in. The smell of the storm was intoxicatingly close now. "Do you know why the last 3 archivists quit?" she whispered, leaning down so her lips brushed the shell of my ear. I shook my head, unable to speak. My breath hitched. "Because I broke them," she murmured. "I don't like strangers in my house, Esther. I don't like people digging through our secrets." "I'm just organizing books," I whispered, trying to summon some shred of professional dignity. "I'm not interested in your secrets." Divine pulled back just enough to look me in the eyes. The amber gaze dropped to my lips, then back up. The malice in her expression faltered, replaced by something hotter, darker, and infinitely more dangerous. "Liar," she said softly. Then she pinned me. It wasn't violent, but it was forceful. Her other hand came up, pressing flat against my chest, just over my heart. She could surely feel it beating like a trapped bird. She pushed me firmly against the spines of the books, her body lining up with mine, heat radiating through her wet clothes. "You're trembling," she observed, her voice dropping an octave. "You're intimidating," I shot back, a spark of defiance finally igniting. Divine blinked, surprised. Then, a slow, predatory smile spread across her face. "Good. I like a challenge." She leaned in, her forehead resting against mine. The intimacy was shocking, electric. We were strangers, Yet in that library, with the thunder cracking outside, the world narrowed down to the space between our bodies. "If you want to survive here, Esther," she whispered, her thumb tracing the line of my jaw, leaving a trail of fire, "you'll have to stop doing what you're told." She pulled away abruptly, the cold air rushing back in to chill me. With a final, unreadable glance, she turned and stormed out of the library, leaving the doors wide open. I should have quit. Any rational person would have packed their bags and left that night. But I stayed. Partly for the money, but mostly because that spark of defiance she had ignited wouldn't go out. Over the next 2 weeks, the game changed. Divine started showing up everywhere. When I was having coffee in the solarium at dawn, she was there, watching me over the rim of her mug. When I was working late, she would lounge on one of the leather sofas, reading silently, her presence a heavy, distracting weight. We didn't speak of the moment against the bookshelf, but it hung between us, a taut wire waiting to be plucked. The tension finally snapped on the night of the CEO's charity gala. I wasn't supposed to be there. I was staff. But the noise of the party had driven me out of the library and onto the terrace for fresh air. I was leaning against the stone balustrade, looking out at the city lights, when I felt her beside me. Divine was wearing a tuxedo, black velvet, sharp enough to cut. She looked devastating. "You look nice," she said. I was wearing a simple black dress, the only formal thing I owned. "I'm hiding," I admitted. "Me too." She sighed, turning to lean her back against the railing. "Mother is trying to set me up with a senator's son. He has the personality of a damp napkin." I laughed, a sudden, genuine sound. Divine looked at me, and her expression softened. It was the first time I had seen her look unguarded. "Why do you stay, Esther?" she asked quietly. "You're too smart for this. You're too alive for this mausoleum." "I need the money," I said honestly. "And I don't leave things unfinished." "Is that what this is?" She gestured between us. "Unfinished business?" My heart did that traitorous flip again. "I don't know what this is." Divine pushed off the railing and stepped toward me. We were in the shadows, hidden from the party inside. The music was a muffled thump in the distance. "I think you do," she said. This time, she didn't pin me. She didn't have to. She reached out and took my hand, intertwining our fingers. The touch was grounding and terrifying all at once. "My mother thinks she owns everyone," Divine whispered, stepping closer until our chests brushed. "She thinks she bought you." "Did she?" "No," I breathed. "Good." Divine cupped my face in her hands. Her touch was gentle this time, reverent. When she kissed me, it wasn't the storm I had expected. It was the calm in the center of it. It was slow, deep, and tasting of champagne and longing. It was the feeling of finally finding the missing volume in a chaotic library. I melted into her, my hands finding purchase on the velvet lapels of her jacket. The world titled on its axis. The fear of the CEO, the NDA, the job, it all evaporated. When we broke apart, breathless, Divine rested her forehead against mine, just like she had that first day. "She's going to fire you if she finds out," Divine said, a wry smile touching her lips. "Let her," I said, surprised by my own boldness. "I've already found what I was looking for." Divine laughed, a low, rich sound that vibrated against my chest. "Careful, Esther. You're starting to sound like trouble." I had a good teacher. Divine kissed me again, fierce and claiming. "Come on," she whispered against my lips. "Let's get out of here. I know a way out that bypasses security." "And go where?" "Anywhere," Divine said, her amber eyes shining. "As long as it's away from the walls." I looked back at the glass doors, at the party, at the life I was supposed to be living. Then I looked at Divine, the billionaire's daughter who had pinned me against a wall and shattered my worldview. I took her hand. "Lead the way." As we ran through the gardens, dodging security lights and laughing like teenagers, I realized the image caption in my head had changed. I wasn't just hired by the billionaire CEO. I was stolen by her daughter. And it was the best career move I ever made.